Welcome to the Escape Podcast, your source for stuff. I'm Brandon.
I'm Josh.
And today we're going to do something a little bit different.
What are we doing?
We realized that if today passes, then we wouldn't have an episode in February, and that would be the first time we've missed a month.
Yeah, without even trying.
Well, that's why we were going to miss a month. So,
Gave up.
Today we're going to watch an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 5. You can find it on Netflix. We have it paused and ready to go, and what we're going to do is we're just going to give a little commentary and talk about things while the episode plays. So you can choose to either watch it with us or not. It's up to you. You can just listen.
I think the cool kids call that a watch-along.
It is a watch-along episode. So, Season 6, Episode 5, if you'd like to watch along, go ahead and load it up. You can pause it right here until you get ready. If you just want to listen, then sorry. I apologize for what you're about to hear.
Yeah, totally unprepared.
Okay, so we're going to do this. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, play, and then when I say play, go ahead and hit play. All right, here we go. We have it loaded up at 1 second. We can see the Enterprise. 3, 2, 1, play. All right, here we go with the Captain's Log. Now, this is a pretty memorable episode, Josh. Yeah. I know you said you remembered it pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
I would actually rank this, as far as like the entire Star Trek, out of every series, one of my top favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Within the top 5, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a list of TNG episodes that I consider the best of the best, and this is one of them.
Yeah. There's 2 spots, no pun intended, that are actually most memorable to me. One is the scene where they get on the holodeck and recreate the table.
Yeah.
And the other would be Data's poem, Ode to Spot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was, to me, kind of a shame that when they're making the table and the room and the atmosphere of what they all had experienced in the holodeck, that it was really creepy. But when you actually see the room, I didn't think it was quite lived up to that. Like, I actually wish the room would have been even
when they're actually on the other
when they're
end,
actually in the room. Yeah.
So this episode, strangely enough, is about alien abduction, which is kind of an odd thing. I think I've always thought that was kind of odd in Star Trek, because here they're exploring space. They're basically in a UFO themselves, and they have interactions with other alien species all the time, but now they're getting abducted.
They're in an IFO.
IFO, so it's identified
Flying Objects.
Well, I guess it's pretty identifiable.
Well, it's got their name plastered all over it.
Yeah. And right now we're looking at Commander Riker.
Looking a mess, man.
Yeah, he needs to comb his hair. I guess he's been having trouble sleeping. I
Right.
wonder why.
So, a brief plot summary. So, basically, this episode is about strange things happening to particular crew members, where they're either like remembering things, or things are reminding, or like, let me say that again. Things are reminding them of other things, like normal things.
They're having strange flashbacks. Some crew members are having trouble sleeping. Eventually, they go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And the doctor notices some strange things. Like, I believe Commander Riker, she comes to the determination. Oh, here it is. Probably shouldn't talk over this part. Right now, they are at Data's poetry reading, and it's finishing up his previous poem. Everybody looks a little bit bored.
You see that woman that just passed by in the blue?
Yeah.
I guess she's like in quite a few episodes in the background. And what do they call her? Ah, dang it. I used to know her name. That she actually has a name, even though she never speaks.
Ode to Spot. Highlight of the episode. Feel free to turn it up here if you're watching along.
Who is Spot?
Spot is Data's cat.
Yes.
There's actually a little bit of a goof at the beginning of this poem, and you'll notice it. He actually states the first 2 lines as a question, and it's not. He reads it incorrectly.
I love the look on Worf's face, like, are you kidding me? Which is hilarious, because, like, nowadays, people really do view their pets as,
family. Well,
some people like more than family. That guy almost looks like a crew member, like a production guy. Did you see that guy behind Data there? I never noticed that. It just looks like his uniform doesn't look like.
He almost looked like he was wearing a t-shirt.
Right, and like a pants with a belt. I never noticed that before. Yeah, he's still there.
love the interaction between Troy and Riker here. And then the clap.
Yeah. Counselor Troy.
They could have funny moments with any character on the show, but I think the two that were mostly used as comic relief were both Data and Worf.
Do you have a favorite character?
It'd probably be Data.
Data?
Which
Okay.
I think is probably a common choice.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah.
But, really, when you look at the Next Generation crew, I think they're all, the 7 core members, they're all good. Like, I know a lot of people dump on Counselor Troy. They say that she would just state very gray, nothing,
Well,
like, obvious things. Like, he's hiding something. It's very obvious. Like, a lot of people give her that kind of,
yeah, she's probably... Oh, here. Look for the little glitch in the thing. Now watch the stars inside of the
Yeah, I
rings
remember
and
you
close
talking
to the
about that.
planet. They're going to move while the rest don't. See?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So, anyway, yeah, Counselor Troy is probably my least favorite of the Enterprise. I don't hate her on the show, but I do find the
She's
episodes...
great to look at.
What? Yeah, she's an attractive woman, so, but...
I met her twice, technically. I have a picture with her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How was she?
She's actually, it's funny, I remember the first time that we met her, it was right before they were doing promotion, tour for the Generations movie, so that was probably early 93 or 94, because the movie came out in 94, but they might have been promoting it early, I can't remember quite.
And that's when you met her?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I went to my aunt at the time, she was dating this guy that was a huge Star Trek fan. And it was Michael Dorn, which is Worf for anybody out there, and Marina Sirtis, Counselor Troy. And I remember just, like, Counselor Troy, she's usually much more composed and just kind of, talks kind of just with this, mellow kind of voice. And she was just jibber-jabbering away, and I remember thinking, like, wow, that's Counselor Troy. But I was, like, 10-something years old at the time. But we got to meet her, and I remember... Like, all the women were swooning over Michael Dorn. And when I met him, I remember, like, I was getting ready to walk away, and what did he say to me? He's like, oh, like, nice, he was, like, trying to, like, hey, how you doing? Like, and just kind of talk to me a little bit. I thought that was really cool.
Let's see. Now Will's freaking out because she's putting an instrument near him. Yeah, I don't like her episodes as much, the ones that are focused on her, because they always get, like, super emotional, and, I mean... Not that necessarily that's a bad thing, but I don't know. I just wasn't interested in her plots as much. She probably appealed more to other women as far as her character goes. But I think they also probably
They
hired
developed her more.
Yeah. Initially, I think she was supposed to be a little bit eye candy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's like, remember she wore, like, the skirt and all that?
Yeah, I do. Like, I think that was only, like, the first season, though.
Now, I would say I would more attracted, actually, to Beverly Crusher.
I've seen Gates more recently, and she's actually aged quite well.
Yeah. They probably both have.
Do you know that she worked for Jim Henson's company for a little bit, and I think she did something...
She was like a choreographer.
Yeah, she does tap and stuff, which in the episode where her and Data...
Another one of my favorite episodes,
I think
Data's
it's Data's
Day.
Day, yeah. He learns how to dance, and she's actually doing real dance.
So this episode premiered in 1992 on October 19th. About a year later is when the X-Files would premiere. That was in September of 1993.
Right.
So, did I say 1993 twice? This came out in 92. So, I also believe 1993 is when Fire in the Sky came out, which we covered. Go check it out on YouTube. This was a popular theme in the early 90s, the alien abduction type thing. It was just everywhere, all over TV. Even Jonathan Frakes hosted a few shows that involved or were about.
I remember watching a made-for-TV movie about Roswell. The alien. I don't know. You might even know what it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but
It's probably called like The Day After.
I just remember there was a woman in this movie where she was like drawing a picture of the stuff she was seeing, and she was like all spazzing out, and she burnt the paper that she drew it on.
Oh, in the movie?
In that movie, yeah.
Funny you should mention Roswell. They actually have two references to the number 47 in here.
47 is featured many times in the Next Generation TV
Is it?
show.
Well, there's two of them in this episode. Lieutenant Hagler's quarters it's 1947. That's the year that the Roswell incident occurred.
Yeah.
And then the holodeck lists there are 5,047 programs.
Yeah,
per
I don't know
table.
if that's I mean that could be just coincidental because I've heard that there's many instances of
Well, his
47.
room number for sure is a reference to Roswell.
No, that's cool. Yeah. Now, who do you like better, Scotty or Geordi? Who's the better engineer?
Probably Scotty's the better character. I would actually say Geordi is a little dull.
Okay.
But I would say Geordi might be a better engineer.
The thing is, though, in this show, they developed a little bit more about the personalities of the characters, what they did in their pastimes, their hobbies, and so I just think, well, I mean, this ran 7 years, so comparatively to the 3 years of the original series, there was much more time to develop those characters, but I don't know, man. I grew up on this show. I
remember late at night on my rabbit ear television, and it'd be like Channel 5, and it'd be like 11 o'clock at night.
And I would try to stay up to watch it, and I had to go to school the next day.
Yeah, yep, me too. And then I remember this one specifically coming on and scaring the crap out of me.
Yeah, I always thought this was funny because they say there's an emergency, and they're walking so casually. It's like, emergency in, cargo bay, whatever, room 12, and they're just casually walking to get to it. I just thought that, you think they'd be
with the sound
running
down, you would never guess there was any kind of emergency.
Yeah.
I guess they detected an anomaly.
Yeah, they thought there was like an explosion or something detected in that room.
But it turns out to be a schism, which is a rift or divide, is what it means.
Hey.
And everything looks normal in there, except for maybe the guy on the left. He looks a little suspicious to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how tall Jonathan Frakes is, but he's looks giant.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, compared to Geordi there.
Just where the shoulders end on each guy.
Yeah.
No, he's a big guy.
You say 6'7"?
I didn't know. I said he's 6 something.
Okay. So this episode actually is very reminiscent. It's probably a slightly recycled plot that they used for a Voyager episode.
I kind of remember that. Remind me.
Season 7, episode 4 is called Scientific Method, and it's the one where the crew is actually being experimented upon.
Oh man!
By aliens that were out of phase with their dimensions. So the only person that could see them was 7 of 9, and she's looking around, and people are walking around with like instruments attached to their head.
I remember that. Yeah,
that was a crazy episode. That one also freaked me out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just the concept of it was pretty crazy to me.
I remember an episode of Voyager where they like are being experimented on, but in a different way. It was like more like where they're tricky. Somehow they like kind of wipe their memory and they like make them think that they're like in different places, time periods, and like.
Are you talking about, that's the one with the Hirogen where?
Yeah, I thought they totally ruined those
I know
guys.
You hate that episode.
Well, the Hirosians were kind of scarier when they were these big brooding like predator type, hunters. But
so,
let's not get on that.
If you're a fan of Ode to Spot, it makes another appearance in a few episodes after this in the episode A Fistful of Datas. That's the episode.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They connected the thing to Data. They were doing some kind of experiment to see if he could control the ship with his brain or whatever.
It was, in case of an emergency situation.
And parts of him were uploaded into the ship.
Yeah, like the food replicators were doing cat food and stuff.
Yeah. And then Ode to Spot showed up when they tried to look something up.
Yeah.
And
someone was actually because Beverly was doing a play and she wanted Riker to be a part, and he's reading it, and it's the Ode to Spot.
All right, now we're looking at the Bolian barber, Mr. Mott. This is actually his last appearance on the television show.
Okay.
Not that he was a large character or anything.
No, but there was certain characters you would see in the background, here.
It's nice to have regulars, even if they're only once in a while.
Yeah. Well, like the character I was talking about before, I wish I could remember her name because I used to know it.
Now, I think it's funny that she's talking about taking way too much off last time. Worf's hair looks pretty good there. It doesn't look messy or anything. It looks about a good height. But
it could have been a month or something since his last haircut. I mean, I don't know.
Well, how short does he want it? Does he want it like when the show first started?
Oh, yeah.
Remember how short it was then?
Yeah. Actually, I think, not to talk about Worf's hairstyles, but I actually liked it better when it was like longer and they had it more like braided.
The ponytail in the back. I like it like this, but I also like it longer. I don't like it when they first started doing it, but of course you improve things over time as you go.
Yeah. Well, even he didn't his prosthetics didn't look as good. Like,
Yeah.
I think his nose was still smooth at that time. They gradually started adding more ridges to his nose, and I think by the time you even get to Deep Space Nine, it's even more.
Did they ever explain exactly what that sash is he wears? I'm sure they did, but I don't remember.
Not that I recall. I know he wore the gold sash that the Klingons from the original series wore in the early, like, I think the first season before they switched him over to the silver sash. Mm-hmm. And the silver ones actually looks metallic, whereas the gold one just looked kind of like, you know, almost like just a heavy ribbon or something. It didn't look very...
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just like, oh, he's a Klingon. Well, stick a thing from the original series on him, you know?
I like the idea that, like, they're in the future and futuristic spaceship and all this stuff, but like you still see some stuff that we use nowadays. Like they had the ladder stairs over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got all those barrels back there with whatever in them. Like it's just a little storage warehouse on the ship.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's Star Trek tries its best to make what they're doing seem as plausible as possible. You know, they typically don't like to throw something out there without trying to make it sound within the context of the story. Like, if we can do this, then we, you know, maybe can, you know, change it or switch it.
Yeah, like in a lot of people that were writing sci-fi, particularly like some cheesy sci-fi, like you'd see somebody with like a hover belt on putting objects somewhere, you know, they wouldn't be climbing stairs.
Yeah. Like in Star Crash, computer, halt the flow of time.
Or a robot would be doing it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they try to stay scientifically grounded for a lot of things, but other things, not so much. Like earlier, I believe she was giving Commander Riker a recipe to help him sleep, and scientifically what she was saying, it didn't really make sense.
Oh?
Something about the milk, yeah. If you look it up...
Warm milk. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard people talk about that to help them go to sleep.
But the way she explained it wasn't right.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I mean, I believe I heard that they would, like, they would have, like, a... you know, physicist or, you know, somebody that kind of knew something to kind of, like a consultant about certain things to try to give some believability to what they were talking about.
Yeah, when you're a writer, you should probably know what you're talking about before you write it. Although they do a lot of technobabble things in here.
Well, that's funny you say technobabble, because I heard that what they would do is when they would write a script and they would have to be like, oh, bring the technobabble gadget over and do the, you know, quantum blah blah.
They would literally like
they
write
would
something
just say
like that.
technobabble, and then they basically had, it was the job of the consultant to actually make up a word or figure out, okay, if they're doing this thing, it would have to be, you know, something that, you know, could do this. And again, trying to find, you know, if it's the future and they have things, this
kind of sounds like what it might be. This is what you're
right
saying,
like basically if they had a device that could do this sort of thing, then they might be able to, you know, tweak it and whatever, blah blah blah, reverse the polarity to make it do that instead, you know, like try to again make some kind of somewhat believable, you know. Okay, so basically they're in the cargo room here and they realize that there is in fact something kind of weird going on. So we had Worf, he was freaked out by the scissors.
Yeah.
And he tried to get his hair cut.
They're establishing the mystery.
Right. Riker is been having trouble sleeping. He claims that he goes to bed early, but yeah, he always feels tired.
This is the only time that Riker takes the con outside of Star Trek Insurrection.
I noticed you can see the Phillips screws there, which is kind of a shame. But I thought I heard, was it her or there was another one? She was a real-life astronaut.
Oh, no way.
There was one of them. I can't remember if it was her or the other one. We'll have to look that up.
You know, Star Trek has a history of having like strange guest appearances by people you might not recognize immediately.
Like Stephen Hawking was in an episode.
Prince Akbar, whatever, of Jordan.
Oh, where he was in the fish costume? Oh, no, that was one of the Fleetwood Mac guys, I thought. There was an episode where there was like these fish creature things, and they were like in some kind of suspended animation. I thought I heard it was one of the Fleetwood Mac guys who was a huge Star Trek fan. He just any part, and it happened to be this part where he's like a fish guy.
Now,
and I don't think he even moves.
Prince of Jordan or somewhere over in the Middle East was in an episode of Voyager.
Okay.
And that he was trying to pursue acting for a little bit until I guess he had to go be king or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Here they go. Now they're discovering the rift. The schism, if you will.
Yeah.
Alright, so mystery established. Now it's time to figure it out. This common plot archetype throughout the show.
Yes. Yeah.
Something weird is happening. Now we got to figure it out.
The A story and the B story.
See, I prefer that over, I guess, what they're trying to do now, make it all about lasers and gun battles.
Right, and I think this might be... There's really no B story to this, is there? It's really all just a solid story. You know, like usually you have your main story where, you know, Picard has to negotiate some treaty, and then the B story is Data's trying to figure out how to talk to somebody, you know, and sometimes there's even a C story. You know, in this one, I don't think there's really any secondary storyline happening. It's just this mystery and how to take care of the issue.
Yeah, a lot of times there's multiple things going on, but you're right. This one is mainly focused.
Which is fine. I actually don't think I would want anything else really going on.
Well, it's all about room.
Story. Yeah.
Like sometimes you got room for more than one. If you don't, then
Yeah.
focus. That's what they're doing on this.
Right.
I wonder what they're talking about back there.
Does this mean we have to work over?
What do you think of her hair right there?
I don't mind. I think it works for her, actually. Why? You?
It looks.
I assume you don't like it?
It looks weird, like poofy and curly, but then still like in a ponytail. It almost looks like a female mullet in a way.
I don't know. So, dead silence.
Yes. See what she does? She just kills the moon. So, reoccurring characters. Mr. Mott's one. I wouldn't typically think of him. I would think of like Whoopi Goldberg or Q. Guinan.
Yeah, Guinan. Like I said,
Barclay.
Barclay is one. Chief O'Brien was a little bit of a... He got a little more main as it went along. Now, what's funny is they have a kind of a no-name, just, you know, someone here. Usually that would be the person that's going to... die or, you know, just has something...
Well, somebody does die in this episode, but it's not her.
True. Yeah, it's usually to, you know, raise the stakes of how dangerous, you know,
I think it's funny,
is.
like, because they don't, like, well, they're only going to take the main cast. Let's throw somebody else in there to make it seem a little more diverse, and then it just feels weird, I think. Have her interact with people. We've never seen her before.
Yeah. I mean, it's believable. There's supposed to be 1,000-some people.
Why not have one of the reoccurring characters do it? Like somebody we don't see all the time. That way it still feels like, oh, they're taking everybody, but...
I don't know.
Well, Mr. Mott. He's already in the episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you ever watched Face Off?
With Nicolas Cage?
No, not the movie. There's the TV. It's like a competition show about makeup.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I believe it was on Sci-Fi Channel. I don't know if they're still going or not. I watched a lot of it on Hulu. I think they just moved it to you got to pay more to watch it now.
Boo.
So, yeah, boo on that. But if you have the fancy Hulu service.
Yeah.
Oh, this set was actually they used the holodeck scene in this episode was actually a physical set constructed on the studio lot rather than a model work normally used to show the holodeck.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like they were showing it off more with that angle.
Yeah, sometimes they just kind of open the door and you can kind of see it and you can tell it's like a blue screen or whatever.
Right,
but yeah, they actually have a set for this right now.
I wonder why all of a sudden now, you know.
So anyway, Face Off, it's a pretty interesting show. I kind of like it. I don't normally like the competition reality shows because they're all basically the same.
Yeah.
Once you get past about the first or second season, like they kind of cut out the reality show drama and it's all just about the makeup.
Right,
Even though they're competing against each other, they help each other out.
Yeah.
One of the cast members of that show, so to speak, is Michael Westmore, who did a lot of the makeup for Star Trek.
Okay. And
his daughter is the host of the show.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting if you're interested in the makeup. Well, she's pretty. So if you're interested in, cosmetics and makeup and you're a Star Trek nerd, you might want to check out Face Off if you haven't already.
Yeah. This is probably the only time they really are on the holodeck where you never actually just see it transform into another.
I love that like medieval wooden table. It looks like a torture device. Like you'd strap somebody to it and stretch them.
So basically what's happening right now, there's 5-6 people plus the counselor, and she's trying to help them because they kind of are starting to realize that they all have a similar connecting experience or fear. So they
very quickly put together basically a, what would you call it, scientific table.
Right. So basically they all have this memory of being like strapped down to a surgical table. So they're in the holodeck now trying to make a table and adjust it to most fit what they experience plus the room itself. But yeah, this was always creepy to me, especially when they get to the sounds.
If Geordi, I would assume that when Geordi gets abducted, they take the visor off so they can take a look at things, but like he's giving them physical descriptions of things.
Well, so I mean, they cut off Riker's arm and they surgically reattached it. So I mean, maybe they're trying to not leave evidence behind of what they're doing. So if they took him back with,
well, I'm saying, how does he have a memory of seeing things? I assumed he was unconscious too.
I don't know. I'm thinking they must have been awake for short periods of time if they're.
Yeah, that's true.
It could have been that the aliens what they use to knock out one person may not knock out the other person for the same amount of time, and so they have to keep adjusting the dosages. So maybe certain people kind of remember more or whatever because they were coming out of it and before they got put back under. I don't know. So Jonathan Shut up. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. He's
gone on to direct quite a few episodes of Star Trek. I think he started here with the Next Generation. I know he didn't do this episode, and I think he did. Did he do some Voyagers?
I think it's a common thing among Star Trek
Patrick Stewart did. Gates did.
I didn't know Patrick Stewart did.
Yeah, he did Fistful of Datas, I believe.
Oh,
you
really?
Can look it up to double check.
Even the old cast, they had Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner directing things.
Yeah,
but I believe that in Voyager, what's his name? What's the character?
Tom Paris?
Yeah, Tom Paris.
Yeah.
Has directed
I think Kate did too. Listen to me talk like I know them.
Well, yeah. They're always welcome to come over and hang out.
Yeah, I invite them, but they never call me back.
Have you ever watched anything else with Kate Mulgrew in it?
Well, I think she was in Throw Mama from the train.
I just watched that the other day. Okay. Like, I've seen it several times, but it's always funny seeing her in a non-Captain Janeway role.
Wasn't she in... Well, and then I heard she was in some other show for a very short period of time. It must have not...
Like on Sci-Fi Channel?
No, it was like a more drama show.
Oh, she was in a soap opera before she was on Voyager.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying after Star Trek, she was in a show, and I don't think it did very well. And then
I know she was on some sci-fi show where, like, I think it was about a place where they kept secret materials, like a hangar. I don't watch Sci-Fi Channel that much.
I always thought it was funny, like, because, they always use the metric system. It just sounds so foreign to me when they're so precise with these metric measurements. It just means nothing. I'm like, wait, what? How are you at the metric system?
I don't know what that means.
All right. There's America. Yeehaw, y'all. But yeah, so the actual room here to me is way creepier than what and I wish they would have.
Well, it's that less is more, because like now they're being taken to this creepy place and you don't know what's going on exactly. And the idea that
I just think when we actually saw it, it should have been at least.
Well, it's more well lit when they get there.
Yes,
it's not as dark, and then even the producers on this one kind of admitted that the end of this episode was a bit of a fail when they revealed the aliens.
Yeah, I think they should have. It would have been cooler.
The clicking, that's the creepy part.
That's the creepy part, yeah. I remember I was watching this as a kid late at night. I had a little TV in my room, and I was so creeped out. I remember I ran in my sister's room. She was asleep. And, but it would have been kind of cool if, like, because, like, hooded figures have always been kind of creepy to me. And the aliens in this are dressed in, like, robes with a hood.
Yeah.
It would have been better if maybe you didn't see their faces, maybe you just saw like two glowing eyes coming from them, but you don't actually see
like
them.
Big Jawa?
Yeah, like a big Jawa.
So,
well, not like glowing eyes like that, more like cat eyes, like where you just see the little, flicker.
I think had they tried to make it look more similar to like the alien gray that everybody's used to seeing, like that would have been pretty creepy. But instead they're kind of fish-like, if I remember right. I don't.
It's like they're almost like a hybrid of those two. I feel like the eyes are kind of just like the dead black eyes, but
I understand like if you have time constraints, you need to get this done. It's a
I like
weekly
the
show.
hands. Like, I mean, they look a little dated now, but just the idea that they're just these big. I think just 3 big fingers with long claws.
Yeah.
Which I remember
That's
thinking, like,
fine.
how do they even pick up stuff with that?
But them throwing robes over them like that tells me that they didn't really have a lot of time to finish it.
Yeah.
Plus, I think there were
but I
about
think that
7 of
works.
them running around. So
I don't know. That kind of works for me because, again, the hooded figure thing has always been kind of creepy.
yeah.
And I remember this was kind of a cool idea. So they realize that people are coming and going, and they just ask the computer, to take a tally. How many people are missing? And what's it, 2 people at this point?
Yeah. I believe it's a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Hagler, I believe, is the guy I said earlier.
Yeah. That's the guy that ends up in where his blood's like turning into something else or something, right?
Yeah, he's the one that ends up dying due to their experiments. I think being exposed to their atmosphere. And it's funny because right after he dies, Picard is entering a log and he says, all crew members accounted for and safe. I guess I didn't care too much about Hagler. I love his reaction there.
Well, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. It's just the craziest thing to hear. They amputated his arm and then put it back.
And I wonder what purpose that served.
The best thing they could have done would have been put it on the other side.
Yeah. Just as a practical joke.
Yeah. So what would be funnier, to switch his arms or just to have both arms on one side?
I'm thinking like put it back on, but like kind of upside down. So it's, the thumb's going down in its normal state. So the schisms now moved from the wall to like right in the middle of the floor, and it's much bigger. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. It's still on the wall, but it's like projecting. Yeah.
So this is one of those many episodes where like they kind of leave it almost as a cliffhanger, like they could continue the plot.
Right. I think they left it open where they could have totally encountered these people again.
Like, an alien invasion plot, which is something they did in, I believe, the first or second season, where basically Starfleet had been infiltrated by worms.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Like, there's a parasite thing?
That's like, I think, the only Star Trek ever to use stop motion.
And that was
I think so.
That's a hilariously great scene.
At least in the shows. I don't know.
Are you talking about where they explode the guy?
Well, just the little crawling of the little bug and the way it goes into
That could have been like a series-long arc.
Yeah.
Storyline.
That wasn't as common back then.
But they just like, we'll drop it. Normally especially on the show, most of them tend to be one-and-done episodes.
Yeah.
Standalones, and by the end of each episode, okay, everything's fixed, back to normal.
Yeah.
Which, there's nothing wrong with that.
Deep Space Nine did the big story arc. At least once you got to at least season 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, well, they already had Babylon 5 to rip off of, so they had that all created for them.
Now, have you ever watched Babylon 5?
I watched the pilot for it, and it seemed like it could be interesting. It seemed to me like it was obviously going to be lesser of a show. I don't think they had the same budget.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. What are the other big, not
Hagler.
big, but the sci-fi shows? Like there was Babylon 5. There was what else? Lex, was it LEXX? Mm-hmm. I remember something about that. I don't really remember.
Is that the one that had Jim Henson puppets on it?
Wait. Farscape. I believe.
Farscape, yes.
Farscape. Again, never watched it. I
watched a few episodes of it.
Okay, was it any good?
If you're a big sci-fi nerd, you probably soak it up.
Okay. I think it's funny when they'll show the Enterprise fly by, but then when they're in the observation, it's like they stopped.
Yeah, everything's still.
But
space isn't full of anything moving around, so.
So. You made me lose my train of thought, jerk.
It's almost as though it's just a background, and they're on a set. Now, we discussed this before. The windows were interesting. I always assumed they used force fields, which actually doesn't make sense, because if you lose power, everybody's dead.
I always thought that myself. Yeah.
But it turns out to be...
transparent aluminum.
Yes, which we discovered in a recent episode we covered.
Yeah.
Star Trek 4.
I was trying to name the episode.
Well, we covered it in December. It's probably
Yeah,
on
episode 54.
It's definitely on YouTube. I don't know if you can listen to it on Podomatic any longer, but go check out our YouTube archives. We got lots of shows.
Yep.
But part of the plot in that was they gave the recipe for transparent aluminum to a modern day engineer.
1986.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, he was still making. Well, he was like the boss for a metal company or
some kind of manufacturing company,
Yeah.
and he was basically a low tech, like low engineer.
Yeah. Whoa! You hear that?
Is that your belly?
Yes.
Dude. I think there's an alien
Yeah.
sitting right next to me. I'm ready for someone to burst out of your chest.
Now, oh no, I shouldn't even bring that up.
I'm waiting for Riker to go back to his room, throw his robe off, and say, "Take me."
So yeah, they're talking right now about trying to put a tracking device on Riker so that when he goes back, they can track it, and also trying to give him something to keep him awake.
Yeah.
Because they talked about how
to nullify the effects of whatever they're doing to.
Yeah, Geordi said he described it as a honeycomb where there's all these, different cells, and it's hard to
Talking about subspace.
Yes, trying to find exactly where he goes would be hard. So they're,
It's hard for me to grasp the concept as much. I think of it as another dimension, which I think is.
Yeah, that's what
similar.
I took it as, but anyway.
Maybe one of these days I'll watch some kind of scientific YouTube video or something to help me understand subspace and exactly what it is and how aliens can live inside of it. Or if it's all just crap.
You're full of crap.
Now, these little doohickeys that they're holding on to, you said you went to see an exhibit at a local museum, Star Trek exhibit.
Henry Ford Museum did a Star Trek exhibit.
I heard you were pretty disappointed in the quality of basically the phasers and...
I was, it was cool in that there was props and, mannequins with certain costumes on it and different things like that. So they were trying to make it look like, hallways of different ships or whatever. And I was a little disappointed with that, but it was still pretty cool. This would be terrifying to me. So
it looks so cheesy in a second when they take them into the portal.
Does. But I mean, just to think okay, so you've been abducted who knows how many times.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's going to happen again, but you're going to be awake for it. I don't know which one's scarier to be asleep or to be awake for it, but I mean, it's pretty creepy idea, Yeah, dude.
I wonder if that was a body double.
Budget.
That didn't exactly look like Riker going in there.
No.
It looked like somebody else.
No, I know they used. There was a particular stunt double that they always used for Riker, and he actually they looked pretty close, even when you looked at them straight on.
Now this is still kind of creepy, but having it lit up and us being able to see everything so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like having them stand kind of far away and click in, although the way the
clicking isn't quite the same.
I believe when they described the end of the episode, because I remember reading an article about this a while ago where they talked about the aliens, and they said they wanted it to be scary because it was a horror themed episode.
Yeah.
And what they ended up with was a bunch of fish monks. Yep. There goes the creature from the Black Lagoon waddling around the set.
Yeah, I mean, you got a shiny. I forgot that the robes were kind of shiny. Like a metallic feel, which unfortunately they did a lot of that in Star Trek. You ever notice when you see anybody in bed, their blankets are that glimmery, shiny stuff, and it was just...
Well, it pops more.
I guess, but it looks ridiculous.
I think it looks cool. Now, this compared to the abduction scene from Fire in the Sky is like night and day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's horrifying.
Terrifying, yeah.
But also, again, this is a TV budget versus a movie budget. In Fire in the Sky, the thing, I guess, to their advantage is that you had a lot more time to build up to that scene.
Some people may think the movie is a little boring or slow, but I'm intrigued by the whole thing. Like I said, I wish they had played up the mystery part of it more, like made it seem really like his friends murdered him before they had that big reveal.
Right, because we as an audience see who they... Well, we shouldn't talk about it. We said it all.
Yeah, go back and check it out again. But that movie, even though it's technically not a horror movie, is probably the scariest movie I've ever seen.
It did bother me quite a bit when I was a kid.
Years. Everybody I've talked to that watched it when they were a kid, like, traumatized about it.
It's funny, I had never noticed that knife blade thing almost looks just like they had a prop of some kind of alien knife, because it looks like the whole black part is the handle, and it's just fastened to the silver bar.
It looks like a Klingon weapon.
Yes, I was going to say it does look like a Klingon weapon.
I guess I would consider that hand to be somewhat, like, insectoid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different kind of looks going on there. There's definitely like a fish kind of face, but the rest of the body does kind of like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Having that like instrument that close to him makes me feel like he can't get up or he'll stab himself.
Yeah, I think he has to wait till one of them actually moves the equipment away.
What was that, a tricorder that they had sitting next to him?
So
he's supposed to be taking scans.
The thing that goes on his arm was the thing to track him.
Oh, okay.
To track him.
Yep.
No, she gave him a shot.
Okay.
To keep him awake. They gave him a phaser, and then Geordi rigged a tricorder, he said, that will continually take scans. He said whether it's open or not, it will just be taking scans. Mm-hmm. So basically, to try to bring information back, he needs to at least get that back to them. So yeah, they're trying to figure out exactly which honeycomb he's in, because what's happening, not only is it they're taking their people, but as it gets bigger, it's affecting the integrity of the hull of the ship, and they're gonna...
Yeah, like they're trying to bring their atmosphere into the ship so they can come aboard?
I don't know if it's that, or if it's just the fact that having that there would breach the hull, and, I don't know. It's no good. That's all I know.
Not good at all. I wonder if we'll get... Well, maybe not. I don't know how there's supposedly there's going to be a series starring Patrick Stewart as Picard.
Right.
Have they released any details on that yet?
I heard that he's going to be retired. It is going to be taking place after the events of Nemesis, but several years he's going to be retired. Starfleet captain. Other than that, I don't know.
Yeah. So we don't know anything. All we can do is speculate. I would hope that...
They said there's talk of possibly here and there having guest spots where, he sees his old crew.
That's what I would hope for. I think everybody's looking forward to that. That would be the smart move if they want people to watch it.
There was some years ago they were talking about possibly doing a Worf show. Worf is personally my favorite.
I always thought that, because you always had bounty hunters coming into DS9, to have a show where maybe somebody's working with the Federation, but they aren't part of the Federation, and have them go out and do the Federation isn't technically allowed to do this, but we'll have you guys kind of go do it for us. Yeah. I think that would have been an interesting way to do things. Yeah. That way, you kind of you change it up a little bit, but without it being too unfamiliar,
Yeah. I think it's cool.
Like, you wouldn't have to change the way warp works or change the physical attributes of...
I'm afraid it's going to be a lot of political crap, though.
Klingons. Well, that's
my big fear.
Yeah.
So I kind of wondered why he took so long to get up. They were all kind of occupied. And personally, I would have stunned all of them. He just now shot the one that was kind of coming at him. He takes forever to get up. Where
did they go? They just ran away? Where did they waddle to so fast?
I don't know.
He saved O'Hara.
That thing in her arm almost reminds me of a Borg thing.
I always thought this was kind of creepy too. Like, that thing just kind of flies around and vanishes through the ship. Like, what is it?
There's it's like the idea that
they're in their own little pocket dimension, or maybe that was it.
There's an episode of Enterprise where they find this little pod, and when they open it, you find out it's actually way bigger inside.
Oh, it's like a TARDIS.
Sort of, but basically, I can't remember how they explain that. But I would almost feel like it's kind of like that, where they can have this huge ship inside this small thing, All
right, now it's time to technobabble wrap things up, saying everything's back to normal.
Which is funny. This is kind of like what they did with Space Seed, which is the original series episode with Khan, where, you know, there's just this throwaway line at the time. You know, it'd be interesting. What did Spock say? Something like he basically allows Khan to have this dead planet to populate or whatever he wants to do. You know, have a kingdom. And Spock says something to the effect of like, it'd be interesting to see what crop has sprung from the seeded planet today. Which obviously at the time there was probably no intention of ever doing a sequel to that episode or a movie. But it's kind of the same idea here. They kind of leave it open, like, you know, that there could be another return of these people.
I think maybe had they had more interesting aliens at the end of it, and ended it maybe a little more in an exciting way, it would have been more open.
Heck, even if they would have done like where there's a return by the time they get to Deep Space Nine or something, I kind of could have, you know, got behind it.
Oh yeah, that would have been great had they shown up again. But
yeah.
I guess they recycled this for that Voyager episode. It would have been cool if maybe those were the aliens then.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
So there we go. The Enterprise is flying away with things back to normal. More or less.
Thank you, Rick Berman. All right, well, that wraps up the episode.
We're not going to talk while we have the credits?
We hope you enjoyed this episode. It's our first watch-along. I hope it turns out okay. Please let us know, like, your thoughts. Leave a comment. Don't forget to share, like, or anything like that.
Whatevs.
You have any ideas on what movie? Oh, we were planning a movie, but due to technical difficulties, we weren't able to get it out. So we're going to have to try again.
Yeah, it was going to be the next main episode, but it didn't work out.
Yeah,
as these things tend to do. So
stay tuned for some Pizza Love and Mutants.
What a spoiler.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us and watching this episode. We will catch you next time on the Pot.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to travel through time. I bid you adieu.
Don't stop now! You can't go! All the plants are gonna die!
Where are you going? I've got to return some videotapes.
Bye, Felicia.